The Little Match Girl. In the snowy streets of old Copenhagen, where colorful houses stood shoulder to shoulder along the frozen canals and church bells rang softly through the winter air, lived a gentle 10-year-old girl named Freya Larsson. Freya had pale golden hair that peeked out from under her thin shawl, wide gray-blue eyes full of quiet dreams, and small hands that had known too much work for someone so young. Her mother had died when she was a baby, and her father had grown distant and ill with grief. Now, in the deep cold of Christmas Eve, Freya walked the icy cobblestones with a basket of matches, trying to sell them to hurried passers-by so she could bring a few coins home. The wind bit sharply through her thin coat. Snowflakes danced around her like tiny frozen stars. Freya's bare feet, wrapped only in newspaper and old rags, ached with every step. She had not sold a single match all day. People rushed past with packages and warm scarves, laughing and eager to reach their bright homes filled with roasted goose, candlelight, and family. No one seemed to see the small shivering girl standing in the shadows. Freya's stomach growled painfully. She had not eaten since yesterday morning. Tears froze on her cheeks as she huddled in a dark alley between two tall buildings. Just one more hour, she whispered to herself, her voice cracking. Papa needs the money for medicine. I must be strong. But inside, she felt so small and invisible. The world seemed full of warmth and light for everyone except her. As the church bells rang 7 o'clock and the snow fell thicker, Freya pulled out one precious match from her basket. She struck it against the rough wall just to warm her frozen fingers for a moment. The tiny flame bloomed like a golden flower. In its glow, she saw a vision, a warm iron stove with crackling fire. She reached out her hands toward it, but the match burned out, and the vision disappeared. The cold rushed back cruelly. Shivering harder, Freya struck another match. This time she saw a beautiful Christmas table filled with roasted apples, cookies, and shining silverware. She could almost taste the sweetness. The match flickered and died. Darkness swallowed the lovely vision again. Tears fell faster now. Freya struck match after match, each one showing her another glimpse of the warmth and love she longed for. A Christmas tree sparkling with candles, her mother smiling and opening her arms, a soft warm bed with thick blankets. Each time the flame died, the real world felt colder and lonelier. She had only 3 matches left. Her body trembled with exhaustion. She curled up against the cold wall, pulling her thin shawl tighter. I don't want to feel cold anymore, she whispered. I want to go where it's warm, where someone sees me. Just then, a soft voice broke through the howling wind. You poor child. You should not be out here alone on Christmas Eve. An old woman with kind wrinkled eyes and a heavy woolen cloak stood before her, holding a lantern that glowed with warm golden light. Her name was Mrs. Ingrid, a widow who lived in a small house nearby. She had been hurrying home from helping at the church when she spotted the small frozen figure in the alley. Mrs. Ingrid's own daughter had died many years ago, and something in Freya's eyes reminded her of that lost child. Freya looked up, too cold and tired to be afraid. Mrs. Ingrid knelt in the snow, wrapped her thick cloak around the little girl, and gently took the basket of matches. Come with me, dear one, she said softly. No child should spend Christmas Eve in the cold. Freya hesitated for only a moment before taking the old woman's hand. They walked slowly through the snowy streets as the wind tried to push them back. Mrs. Ingrid's home was small but filled with warmth. A fire crackled in the hearth. There was hot soup, fresh bread, and a soft blanket waiting. As Freya ate slowly, color returned to her pale cheeks. Mrs. Ingrid listened quietly as the girl told her story in a trembling voice, about her sick father, the long days selling matches, and how invisible she felt in the big world. You are not invisible, Mrs. Ingrid said, stroking Freya's hair. Kindness matters most when times are hardest. Tonight, let me show you that you are seen. That night, Mrs. Ingrid cared for Freya like her own granddaughter. She bathed her frozen feet in warm water, gave her clean clothes, and tucked her into a real bed with thick feather quilts. Before sleep, they sat by the fire, and Mrs. Ingrid told stories of her own hard winters and how small acts of kindness had carried her through. The next morning, Christmas Day, Freya woke to the smell of cinnamon and fresh baking. Mrs. Ingrid had already gone out early. When she returned, she brought Freya's father with her. The old woman had used her savings to buy medicine and had convinced the kind doctor to visit him. Freya's father looked weak but smiled when he saw his daughter safe and warm. From that Christmas onward, everything slowly changed. Mrs. Ingrid became like a grandmother to both Freya and her father. She taught Freya how to read better and how to help in the little bakery she ran with neighbors. Freya began selling warm rolls instead of matches, and people who once hurried past her now stopped to smile and talk. She learned that even in the hardest times, choosing kindness, both giving it and receiving it, could light up the darkest nights. Freya never forgot the freezing Christmas Eve. She kept one special match in a small wooden box as a reminder. Whenever she saw someone cold, hungry, or lonely, she remembered how Mrs. Ingrid had stopped for her. She shared her rolls, offered warm words, and sat with those who felt invisible. Her small acts of kindness began to spread through the neighborhood like ripples in a pond. Other children joined her, creating a secret group they called the Little Match Helpers, bringing food, blankets, and friendship to those who needed it most. 1 year later, on another snowy Christmas Eve, Freya stood with Mrs. Ingrid and her father outside the church as snow fell gently around them. Lanterns glowed warmly. The air smelled of roasted chestnuts and hope. Freya, now stronger and with warmer boots, carried a basket, not of matches, but of small gifts she and her friends had made for the poorest families. "I used to think the world was only cold and hard," Freya said softly, looking up at the falling snow. "But kindness matters even in the hardest times. It becomes a light that never goes out." Mrs. Ingrid hugged her tightly, tears shining in her eyes. Freya's father, healthier now and working steadily, kissed the top of her head with pride. "You have become the brightest light of all, my daughter." As the church bells rang joyfully across Copenhagen and families gathered in their warm homes, Freya felt deep peace in her heart. The lonely little match girl who once nearly froze in an alley had discovered that even the smallest flame of kindness could grow into a fire that warmed many hearts. From that year forward, the children of Copenhagen told and retold the story of Freya, the little match girl. Whenever winter grew harsh and hearts felt heavy, they remembered how one old woman's kindness on a freezing night had changed everything. They learned that no matter how dark the night or how difficult the times, choosing kindness always matters. It heals. It connects. It brings light where there once was only cold. Freya looked up at the starry sky as gentle snowflakes kissed her cheeks. She no longer felt invisible. She felt seen, loved, and full of purpose. In her pocket, the single remaining match stayed safe, a quiet reminder that even the smallest light, offered with kindness, could brighten the whole world. And in the beautiful city of Copenhagen, where the canals froze and church bells sang, the spirit of the little match girl continued to live on in every warm blanket shared, every kind word spoken, and every lonely heart that found a friend on a cold winter night. Because kindness, even in the hardest times, always finds its way home.